And welcome back, everybody, to the UMG Champions Apex Legends Arena $10,000 Invitational. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Onset and Gaskin. Boys, it's good to be back with you once again. We're moving into the bottom end of the bracket, an amazing matchup between Era Eternity and Ghost Gaming. And Gaskin, I believe this is the first time we're seeing Ghost in the entirety of this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of them in the previous Invitational, way back when. It feels like a distant memory this time. But this is a rematch. It was a quarterfinal matchup between these two teams then. It was a 3-0 victory for Ghost over Era Eternity. So maybe some revenge here for Era, because I think they looked really impressive yesterday.
Very impressive onsets. In fact, I think Era might be one of the strongest teams playing today. Again, that energy from yesterday might not translate as well to today. CLG, a great example of that, and Arena Demons flipping the script and really turning things around for them. But Era, though, yeah, yesterday's performance was powerful.
Yeah, Era looked really good yesterday. My concern for Era today is the caliber of teams that are left in the tournament. I feel like we had maybe a couple of weaker teams yesterday in arenas that Era were able to take advantage of. It's great for confidence, right? It's great for finding the chemistry, all those good things that we talk about all the time. But this is a real test for them. Ghost Gaming, like Dan mentioned, hit them with a big 3-0 last time they played, and it looked pretty simple. So we'll have to see if that kind of disparity between the two teams, the gap has closed as they match up again now.
Well, I got to say, Gaskin, Era, let's see if the caliber of team is going to be a lot different. You did mention the history Ghost has had. Ghost has always been in playoffs. Every single time they've competed in our arena tournament, they always make it into playoffs. Now, as far as, them making it to grand finals, well, that's a bit iffy, but at least semifinals. But I think this is going to be a big test for them, and I'm curious to see who's going to end up ahead. And speaking of Ghost, right, Six, Metro, and Pandxrz, these three guys are incredibly talented.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the fact that these guys have been able to really show us what they're made of in arenas, because I've watched them for quite some time.
Sure.
Elsewhere in other tournaments, and I think today they need to show us why they are a consistent team. They need to show us why they are a team who, is making these playoffs over and over. If they drop the ball against Era Eternity, I think that'll be a disappointment. I do think it'll be an upset. Even though Era Eternity probably looked the strongest team on broadcast yesterday, doesn't necessarily mean that's going to, jump over today. As you say, we saw CLG flop a little bit today. And Mark's right. We had some slightly weaker teams that were maybe not up to standard, and now we get to the business end of this competition, so we need to see what happens.
Well, Onset, I think the interesting thing to bring up that's very relevant here is the fact that Era isn't necessarily playing with their full three-man roster, or at least 3 men on that roster, right? They do have a G2 sub, and that sub played incredibly well yesterday. And obviously, speaking about Dezignful, who was just absolutely tearing it up, but how do you think he's going to play today? And do you think that sub is going to have a bigger impact going against the full roster of Ghost?
I mean, when you look at subs, you look at the caliber of player that's coming in. Usually it's a last second thing, right? And you're like, is anyone available who can play? Like, we're good to go. Like, just get anyone in, it's fine. See how you get on. But when you bring in a player like Dezignful, who's not only one of the best players in the world, full stop, in Apex Legends, but probably one of the best players in the world in arenas that we've seen so far when we've had our arenas competitions, then that kind of motivates everyone, right? It's not just bringing in a sub. It's bringing in a player that's going to elevate every single player on that team. He's going to be able to give a little bit more information on how G2 have had success in their arenas tournaments. And he's also going to be able to motivate everyone else to play up to the standard that he did yesterday. Plus, yesterday, he was showboating at times. And I mean, if you've got a player on your team that's showboating, that's like going for 360 no-scopes, even though it does take quite a long time to 360 on a controller, I will say that it's not quite as flashy as doing it on mouse and keyboard. It just makes everyone feel good, especially when you're winning games.
First and foremost, why do you already get to start a fight between mouse and keyboard and controller players?
Because I'm that guy.
I understand that. You are. But it's too early for that, man. Let's at least wait until semifinals or at least grand finals to get to that point. But you're right. Maybe not as flashy. Chat, I don't know if you have an opinion on that. I'm sure you will. Gaskin, though, yeah, Dezignful, definitely a flashy player yesterday. And one thing, though, that I do appreciate, at least when subs come into the mix, is we do see that honeymoon phase take, full effect. And Dezignful, as Onset wisely said, right, it depends on the caliber of fill-in that you have. And Dezignful is at the peak, right, whenever it comes to, players you want to be filling in for your roster. But one thing is for certain, though, the strategy isn't necessarily as strong as it, and the setups, too, aren't as strong as they would be if you had your full roster. So do we expect to see just the same level of aggression coming out from Era this time around as opposed to yesterday?
I think that's one of the best ways to do it if you are playing with a substitute, is to sometimes try and take as much strategy out of the game as possible. If you get the long-winded approach where you're playing for resources, you're playing for zone, and you are going to probably lose to a team who is more well-practiced, who has been in those environments and knows the strategy. But if you just get up in the team's face and you make them uncomfortable, then I think you can pull out a victory here or there. That being said, if they employ Dezignful strategies and some of the stuff we've seen G2 do in previous arena tournaments, then maybe actually it's not so bad to go for a bit of strategy. Yes, okay, they haven't played together lots as a 3, but at the same time, you see plenty of times people playing pubs together, people playing ranked together. Like, these guys know each other. It's not like they're complete strangers to one another.
I mean, and I think, having that level of chemistry, at least knowing each other, is there. But you're going against Ghost, right? And Ghost is looking serious with 6 Metro and Pandxrz. Like, these guys are the real deal. But either way, let's take a look at our maps on set. It's time to finally get into it. We don't have many to choose from. That's the reality. Encore map number 5, no surprise there. But I do like the fact that those 4 maps, Phase Runner, Overflow, Party Crasher, Thermal Station, we're going back to the OG setups. Phase Runner to start off. That's an interesting one for me personally on set, because Phase Runner has tended to be a lot slower, which might play to the favor of Ghost.
Yeah, it could well do. You do have that early sort of poke damage exchange between the teams, where the first couple of rounds especially really important to hit those first shots against the opposition, because otherwise you're going to be draining your resources really quickly. But the happiest thing I am about this series that we see in front of us is, that Dan doesn't like gardens, right? And he was excited to see that out of the map pool.
That's right.
I feel exactly the same about Dome. I did not like that map in arenas. It's just hiding in buildings. I ain't got time for that. I want to see people shooting each other. I don't want to see them looking at each other through doors like weird neighbors. I'm not interested in that kind of thing. I want to see fighting, and this is the kind of series layout I want to see.
I mean, Dome, it's interesting. Actually, a lot to talk about on Dome whenever it comes to it, especially after Girls' comment wanting to see certain legends added onto that map. Again, I never thought that would be a thing when it comes to Arena. But yeah, Phase Runner a bit slower. I'm curious, Gaskin, though, whenever it comes down to the more aggressive maps, maybe Overflow and Party Crasher, I do think that's where we're going to see Era turn up things. So for Ghost, I do personally feel, map number 1, Phase Runner, could potentially be a must-win.
Yeah, I think if you get a bit of momentum behind the boys of Era Eternity here, then they might be able to actually come up with a big upset. Not just, like a 3-2. They could get a 3-0 sweep. They certainly have the potential to do so with what we saw yesterday. Their individual ability, the shots they were hitting, some of the teamwork, some of the risky plays they were going for. Because if you are going to play aggressive, you have to take risks. You have to have one player who is more than happy to kind of separate themselves from the rest of the team and try and venture out a little bit to take those angles. And you can be punished for doing that, but when it works, boy, does it work well.
Yeah, absolutely. And on set, 2 players we have to hone in on. It's got to be Stuhni and Metro. And I'm very happy to see Metro's stats because, again, we didn't have a chance to see him yesterday. That total damage is insane. But just like Girl said on the previous stat page on set, look at the games played, right? Ghost obviously went through the gauntlet.
Yeah, I think it's something to sort of take with a pinch of salt, right? When you're looking at these stats, look at the games played, and then you compare the two, and you could say that maybe Stuhni damage per game is actually getting more damage than Metro is because of the half amount of games played. Now, Dan knows that I struggle with maths, so I'm quite pleased with myself already that I've said something correct. But total damage, I mean, still really impressive for Metro. To put out those kind of numbers across 12 games shows consistency, right? So he's going to be doing it game on game. The question for Stuhni is, can he repeat what he did yesterday in today's series?
And Gaskin, I think the important thing to take note is stats aren't everything. So at least looking at that dynamic between Stuhni and Metro, is there any key takeaways between those two individual players that we can maybe hone in on more so than that just of the stats?
Yeah, I think you ignore the kill stat because for the most part, it doesn't really matter if you're getting the finish or if the kill is awarded to you. The damage is what we need to be looking at. I think that is a fine stat to judge performance. As you said, and as Mark said, you don't look at the games played, but it's about the damage per game. So I would say that both players are doing enough and they are putting the damage on, but the highest damage output doesn't necessarily mean that is your best player or that is your most important player. They might be the player who stood at the back of the map with a 30-30 repeater and just doing damage from a distance, right? When it comes to statistics, there's more you want to look at sometimes. You want to look at who was flanking. You want to look at who is being able to, hit more damage with I don't know, an automatic weapon rather than 30-30 from distance. But that's not statistics you can just pick up easily. You don't get it from the API. But I do love stats, and you say that stats aren't everything. To me, they are. They are dear to my heart, and you will learn this as we go. The more stats you can feed me, production, send them over. I love them. I think it's brilliant when we get
This is why I work with Dan, by the way, because when I see numbers, I panic. And it's something that is well documented at this point. But Dan just steps in and he's like, right, give me the stats, boy, and let me go at it. And I'm just like, yeah, that was nice. That was cool. And Dan will be like, this is why this happened. Numbers. And I'll be like, yeah, but numbers aren't everything. It's all
legit the same exact way. Like I see a 2 and then I see a plus and then I see a 2 and then I'm like, the answer has to be Apple. But it doesn't make sense. I've
already panicked when I see the plus. To be honest with you,
it's like, what is that? Is that a cross? Is that a plus? Is that division multiplication? I don't even know what that is. I couldn't even spell division and multiplication. Onset. I honestly don't get math at all either. But stats, are very important. And Gaskin, to your credit, I do like to look at stats. I did a broadcast though a long time ago, and I was like, stats are incredible. Let's look at the stats. And then I was quickly corrected by some commentator, and he was like, stats aren't everything. Stop focusing on the stats, man. It does. And to be honest, to his credit,
stop focusing on all the stats, Dan. They mean nothing.
Well,
everything
his
you believe
credit,
in is a lie.
All those stats I brought to the table during that matchup really meant nothing. And I was kind of like, had an existential crisis. I'm like, maybe stats don't mean anything.
It's about what stats you bring to the table.
Facts.
Facts. How many times in Apex tournaments have we looked at who's got the most kills when the actual stats we should be looking at is who was getting the most important damage and when they were getting that damage, rather than just, watching a team walk by and getting free shots. It's about when you're in those 3v3 engagements, when you're in those 1v1s, who's getting the most clutches, who's winning their actual 1v1 fights. Those are the kind of stats I like.
Fair enough. And yeah, because everybody gets wrapped up in the kills, right? Who got the most kills? Again, it's not necessarily the case who's outputting the most damage, because that person's doing 100 damage or 99 damage, and then the guy who's getting the kill is only doing the last bit of damage. And is it really that special? Well, in a way, yes, but not as impactful as it could be. Hey, this is going to be a good matchup, though, for sure. I think Era still, to me, has to be the favorite team based on their performance, but I do want to take a step back. We did not watch Ghost yesterday, and it's been some time since I've seen Ghost play Arena, so maybe things have shifted a bit. Either way, it's going to be a big battle. And Gaskin, I started the show with you. Onset, I'm going to start predictions with you, brother. I know you always like to go first, maybe. So who are you going with in this matchup?
This has been a good day already. Oh, I've got a smile on my face. It's bringing my step. I'm ready to go. I went with Ghost Gaming for my predictions. One of the reasons being, when you looked back on the last time these two teams played, and it was Ghost Gaming with the 3-0, also Era have a sub. Now, like I said, Dezignful's been playing nuts, arguably one of the best players on that team, but I just feel like Ghost Gaming have got a little bit too much experience-wise, and we didn't see him on broadcast yesterday. So they might have just been stomping everyone yesterday or playing some crazy rounds, making some crazy clutches, and I just think, I don't know, I just feel like Ghost, it's kind of a hard one over my head here, but I'm going with them.
All right, fair enough. And Gaskin, you have a G and an S in your name. Ghost also has a G and S in their name. So that must mean something if I'm looking at the stats, right? Are you going with Ghost or are you going with Era?
I mean, I also have an A and an E in my name.
You do?
I just want to, Dan, I'm just going to step in here, by the way. I just let everyone know at home that Dan played football earlier today, yeah? And he took a bit of a shoulder to the head.
Oh,
so, like,
no.
when you throw this kind of stuff at him, it's not normal Dan today. He's struggling a little bit. When you say there's a G and an S in his name, you just saw his brain just washed over him. He's like, is there? Oh my God, there is.
I was warned I could have mild concussion, but yet here I am. See, I can't even say words right.
At least
lucky I don't say Neanderthals.
Am I here for Legends Apex? We've got Yoda.
If we had to say Neanderthals today, I think I'd be struggling. Prediction, though. I originally, when I was asked, I went for Era Eternity after their performance yesterday. But then when I looked at the stats and I looked at the previous encounter between the two and I remembered what happened, I'm going for Ghost because I do think Ghost have one up here on Era Eternity. But I'm happy to be proved wrong because I think this could be a really entertaining series.
I think it's going to be entertaining regardless, just because you two are casting it. Chat, who are you going with? Are you going Ghost? You going with Era? Chat probably likes to go against the grain, at least from what I've seen. Maybe going against.
See what you got, Chat.
Look, it's just
see what you got.
Like I know Chat. All right, it's like I know every single person out there because, well, let me not pick a fight with all 400 of them because as strong as I am, 400 is a lot to deal with. Whether they're duck-sized goats,
I was going to say, who would win a fight? Who would win the fight? Would it be 1 Reflections or 400 Twitch chatters? That's
400 Twitch chatters.
Dan doesn't have the stats for that one. That's all I'm going to say.
I would have a concussion like Gaskin at that point.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Did you really take a hit to the head earlier?
I did. I pretty much megged the guy, and then he came at me, shoulder right, hit me right here. It's starting to bruise. I don't think you can actually quite see it.
Not yet.
But it's going to be a big old bruise tomorrow. Yeah, I was violently sick afterwards, and I was told I might have concussion. But you know what? Esports doesn't sleep, and I'm not going to sleep either because that's
he just might pass out at some point.
We got to stay up. I hope this tournament goes more than 24 hours. Well, listen, me and Onset got your back. Like, if we need to go take care of business, Gaskin, you just let us know.
Oh, I'm playing for Dan's football team next week. I'm making the away fixture. I'm there. Don't worry. I'm playing wherever Dan's playing. I'm playing right next to him. And if that guy comes anywhere near Dan, I'm just saying.
It's out.
It's
out about like light.
I always commentate with people bigger than me, and Onset is the biggest man I can find. So here we go.
Hey, fair enough. Well, I respect you still being here, Gaskin. Much love and respect. Just like girls streaming before and after she ends up. I don't know how people can do that. I can't do that. But then again, I'm 30 years old and I'm old now. So I'm kind of like 1 foot in the grave. Hey, Onset Gaskin, it's going to be a great series. Ghost Era Eternity. Super curious to see who's going to end up ahead. It's going to be a battle nonetheless. So Onset Gaskin, take it away.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much. I'm excited for this one, Dan. I think we've filled everyone in on your condition today, but I think the most important thing is that we remind everyone that we've got an amazing series ahead of us. We've got 2 of the teams who've been playing amazingly well. We've got one of the most consistent teams that we've had in all arenas tournaments in Ghost Gaming, and a team that were popping off yesterday. And like I said, they were showboating at times. It was almost like there was a little compilation on YouTube of some of the clips that they put together. Dezignful was kind of leading the way for them, but it's going to be a fascinating series for sure.
Yeah, I think if we're going to see more 360 no-scopes on controller, I want to see the sensitivity upped ever so slightly. So
get the acceleration through the roof, yeah. I agree.
When you're turning it around instead, I just want to see a full whip. Because you can do it on controller, but let's be honest, when you're playing with a controller, you want the lowest sensitivity, well, a reasonable low sensitivity so you can hit your shots. But Era Eternity, they looked insane. I understand why Twitch chat have gone for them in their votes. They didn't see Ghost yesterday, but we saw Era Eternity obliterating everyone else. But this is a real test now. I don't feel like they were tested to their max yesterday, and this is where we're going to really need to see, you know, some of that strategy developed from the likes of G2, Dezignful bringing that in, and then adding it.
Dan, breaking news. Breaking news in my ears. So we were saying, Dezignful's playing all this amazing stuff. Sorry, for Era Eternity, apologies. Dezignful's doing all this amazing stuff. Yesterday was amazing. Dezignful's not playing today. So just disregard the entire segment. Me and Dan are off. We've had enough. Dezignful has stepped away from the arenas. Dan, welcome back. I think you're still here. Dan threw his headset off. Don't worry, I've got this. Let me know when you're back, Dan.
I'm back.
Hopefully that wasn't you just like passing out and falling off the chair due to the impact injury earlier. But here we go, ladies and gents. We've got a game on our hands. We'll let you know who's filling in for Era Eternity. I'm pretty sure it's one of the players from Oxygen who might be joining them. But Ghost Gaming, full lineup, Dan. And now our predictions are looking a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, so it's going to be Oxy Aries joining in, and you know what? I'm still confident because it wasn't just Dezignful, okay? Era Eternity, Stuhni and Bowswer were still doing some work, but this is going to be even tougher now because certainly Dezignful did add that extra bit of spice. Ghost Gaming though, at the moment, Metro's got to be careful. A crack having to retreat. That is going to allow Era Eternity to push up if they would like to.
Yeah, I love this early aggression from Era Eternity as well, not letting Ghost settle whatsoever. You can see that all of Ghost have had to kind of turtle up on the other side of this stage at the moment, and Bowser's just trying to get a little bit of peak damage. If he gets a couple of shots down here, that might be the signal to initiate. The gun shield gets broken, as now he's going to jump back up to the high ground, and Ghost in a pretty tough position here, Dan.
Yeah, Era Eternity have taken that damage, and they are flying, and boy, is Stuhni flying, but you've got to be careful, have to hit your shots now. Woohoo! The wingman popping off, you love to see it, but it's a trade 1-for-1.
Couple of knocks either side. Metro last player alive now, and it's a 1v2, but he's taken down to barely any HP, but he makes it a 1v1 as Metro now goes to the skies again. Metro versus Oxy Aries. Mozambique with 3 shots left in it. And just as we switch away, it will be Era Eternity who take our first round. And Oxy Aries, the sub, coming in and saying, hey, Dezignful, forget about him.
There was a lot of responsibility on his shoulders there. I was nervous for him because they're both going to be thinking that Dezignful would have done this. Dezignful would have won this clutch. But Oxy Aries getting the job done. Era Eternity going 1-0 up. It was just the damage they were able to put down in the early stages of that round forcing the Ghost Gaming team back, taking that ground, being aggressive, and then the Pathfinder zip, and then hitting the 3 wingman shots in a row from Stuhni. That is sublime. You need to be connecting with shots like that if you're going to be aggressive, and I love that from Era Eternity.
Now we move back over to the Broken Portal side of Phase Runner, so we'll have a little bit of a slower round, you would imagine. However, with the way that Era Eternity decided to approach that first round, Dan, it wouldn't surprise me to see them try and get a little bit of early aggression on the boards once more. Stuhni's going to get those meds away, though, from Pandxrz, who tried to grapple in. Looked like he was a little bit late on that one, and those few seconds delay completely changes the complexion of the round now.
Plenty of resources available for both teams, even though it's only in round 2. Of course, the economy is going to be far better for Era Eternity, whereas Ghost Gaming going to be ever so slightly on the back foot. This is a really important round, but again, Metro being caught out. That's the second time now. Bowswer the one putting the damage on. Oxyaries elsewhere has also been cracked, so at least the damage was able to be replied to by Ghost Gaming, and they won't allow Era Eternity to just walk up on them for free. But as I say that, 6 is taking a considerable amount of damage, and here comes the push.
Yeah, here comes the push. They know they have a momentary 3v2, and if they can distract for just long enough, maybe Oxyaries could have a flank, which could have been effective, but he might not have been quite in position to take advantage of that, as now Ghost will take a few moments here just to stabilize. 30-30 still in the hand of Pandxrz. Oxyaries says hello, and he almost says goodbye as well, as Pandxrz has to retreat once more. Syringe will be popped for now, but this is looking like a HP advantage across the board for Era.
Yeah, Metro on his last battery now. Resources are going to start to be pretty awkward for both teams, especially Ghost Gaming, because their economy's not there and they've taken far more damage. You can see Pandxrz hasn't been able to heal up just yet, so might even not have the ability to do so. So for Ghost, if they manage to get any sort of damage, they have to go, they have to commit with it, because otherwise this poke war is going to end badly. Era Eternity have far more resources to work with, and they know exactly who is weak on the Ghost side as soon as they get that damage, as soon as they see that flesh.
Pandxrz doesn't have any meds to play with as well. I wonder if 6 or Metro have any to give him, but looking across Metro at the moment, he's only got that 1 syringe, and Pandxrz is going to go down, and that's going to be the signal here for Era Eternity to push. You can see the stim already hit, the finish coming in now onto Pandxrz, and Bowser's going to be met with the wingman, but it looks like at the moment they're not quite sure who they want to focus on at the moment. Metro backing up into this bubble, so it's going to be a bubble fight to decide who wins this one. Stuhni manages to get one. Metro last alive. He will fall, and that will be Era Eternity going up by 2 down and finding themselves on map point.
Well, I think Reflections has brought up a good point that this is an important map for Era Eternity to try and take off of Ghost Gaming, because Ghost Gaming should have more strategy when it comes to the maps here, because they are a full lineup. They don't have any subs. They have played plenty of arenas, but Era Eternity, you know what? The aggression's working out. They're doing so much damage in the early stages of the round, making Ghost Gaming play ever so slightly passive. They got rid of all the resources there, and as soon as they had done the damage, that's when they flew in. Actually, I say that, they didn't even need to do the damage in the last fight. It was 2 shots with the wingman, and already we saw Pandxrz go down. Pandxrz, without any resources, without being able to bat up, was just left so vulnerable.
But Era Eternity, map point. You're looking to go 1-0 up in the series as well, and 90 damage off the bat coming in from the wingman of Metro. He really has been one of those players. He doesn't miss too many shots. He's a couple of warning shots after hitting the 45 again. You can see the Bowser's thinking, come on, man, give me a few seconds just to reset here. He's being pressurized from so many different angles. Pandxrz taking this little off angle on the stairs as well. The flatline going to be his weapon of choice here. And once again, off the break here, Dan, you can see that early meds having to be expended by Era Eternity. It's actually Ghost Gaming who have the advantage here.
Yeah, that's better from Ghost Gaming, not getting caught out and not exposing themselves a little bit too much. I think a few rounds Metro has maybe been a tad over-aggressive in comparison to the rest of his team. I'm all for aggression, but if you are going to be leaving yourself open to so many angles to be shot from, then the damage is going to come in, and Bowser's just taking a big crack too.
We'll be able to get that battery off, though. No one in position to push. Plus, Oxyaries is doing a really good job of just covering his teammate there. Frag grenade just rolled down the hill towards Pandxrz, but he relocates under the staircase to make sure he doesn't take any damage. And now, as that zone starts to close, we see these teams may be forced to get a little bit more uncomfortable. Bubble goes down. 6 is taken down to no HP as well. Stuhni sees that as the signal to push as well. He's going to miss a couple of shots in the bubble. Finally does make contact, but it's going to be kills exchanged across the board here. And we're now in a 2v2 scenario.
2v2, but Ghost are looking pretty healthy when it comes to their shields. Mozambique in the back pocket, but Mastiff in the back pocket for Stuhni, for Bowswer, which is going to be very important.
Oh, no.
After that damage. Zip's not so great, though, but it should be enough because two players are very weak, but looks like they're going to have time to heal.
Might be able to get the res off as well. Bowser's got to be very careful. We'll have to drop back to teammates or play the head glitch that he's on to stay alive. But you're right, the res does come in. So now it's a 3v2 as Ghost Gaming haven't been able to get 6 back up. Shot's going to be exchanged once again, but Bowser is going to hit the bigger ones as Metro now falls. It all now is on the shoulder of Pandxrz to try and clutch a 1v3, and that's not very often that we'll see that kind of thing happen.
It's not very often, but it can happen if you hit shots like that, and Pandxrz is still pretty healthy. Mastiff in the back pocket has done the damage, and actually if he hits these shots, maybe it's doable after all! Oh, it's an 11, but that one surely has to hit! And somehow, it does happen, the 1v3. It doesn't happen often on set, but when it does happen, boy, is it good to watch.
Well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are live now because the 1v3 happens, and what a 1v3 it was as well. Oh, I love seeing 1v3s, but there's always that part of me that thinks, how do you lose a 1v3? That's just bad coordination in that final push, but Pandxrz, he don't care. He picked out his targets. He hit some big shots with the Mastiff, which is now my favorite shotgun in the rotation. And just showed that even when it seems like all of the cards are stacked against you, you can still come out with a win.
That could be a huge turning point for this series. Era Eternity had this map wrapped up. There is no way you lose that 3 versus 1. You're completely right. The push was not coordinated. Communication clearly not there. Again, could be down to having a substitute and maybe just not linking up too well. But Era Eternity will want that one back time and time again. That's enough to give you nightmares. That would have me rolling in my sleep, sweating profusely, and not being able to get a wink of sleep that night.
Well, it's still map point here for Era Eternity. Maybe just a little bit of laziness on their side there with that final push. It could have been 1-0 in the series, but instead it's 2-1 in this game, with Ghost Gaming given somewhat of a lifeline. 71 headshot from Oxyaries just peeking over that little ridge that we see. This time he's got a little bit of a angle on the player who's just playing around that camper van. But for now, a little bit of a standoff between the two teams. Frag grenade tossed into the air as well, just to see if there's anyone still residing on the other side of that loop hill. But for now, a little bit of a reset across the board.
It's Oxyaries who's taken damage in the early stages. He's going to have to bat up. He is the furthest player away, though, but maybe Pandxrz fancies go in and have a little look at this one. He's going to be full of confidence after that 1 versus 3. Iratoni on the back foot, but Metro's gone down. Again, the first player to fall.
Should have a 2v1 in the bubble here, though, and they need to be really quick. The flatline shots, though, once again from Pandxrz is incredibly impressive, and surely he can't do it again. No, he can't this time. Left in a 1v3, but the only 3 that matters is Era Eternity's rounds, as they will win our first map here and go 1-up in the series.
Maybe that was the strategy. Panda said, guys, if you two can die again, then I'll just go for another 1v3 and it'll be fine. But it'll be a little bit frustrating there, because I think there was a couple of times where Metro got caught out and perhaps could have been in a little better position. But Ghost Gaming falling and Era Eternity taking map number 1 here in a pretty strong way as well. Like, it should have been 3-0. It shouldn't have even been 3-1 if it weren't for that amazing 1 versus 3. But that will at least make them kind of clean their act up a little bit. They'll look back at that round, Era Eternity, and say, we cannot allow that to happen again, because otherwise we might lose rounds that will lose us maps.
Yeah, it's the kind of round that's a little bit like a shoulder to the eye, Dan, is how I would describe it. You know, it just wakes you up a little bit, or maybe it just puts you to sleep if you're on the other team and you're on the receiving end of it. But, I mean, it was one of the highlight plays. We do love seeing crazy stuff like that happen in arenas, in Apex Legends, whatever game it is. When you manage to clutch up in that kind of way, then I tell you what, you're certainly going to be clipping it and shipping it and putting it onto Twitter as soon as possible. This was the 1v3. I mean, he couldn't have done anything better, Dan. He didn't have any meds to play with. He hits a perfect spray with the flatline. He then absolutely chunks the player who tries to push him. I worried when he missed that one shot, though, that it could have all been for nothing, but he managed to reach out with that Mastiff and get the job done. So a really, really cool 1v3, but I'm sure that he would have exchanged it quite happily for a map win instead.
It was when it hit for 11, the Mastiff, that I started to panic as well. But He almost did it again. The skill we're seeing from a lot of these players in these arenas tournaments, like the individual ability with the flatline as well as the shotguns, it's very important you've got someone on your team who can pop off like that for those instances when a round is unwinnable or looks unwinnable. You need your clutch player to step up and do something like that. Wasn't enough to win them the map, but at least it's somewhat of a confidence booster, and I'm sure Pandxrz is now going into the rest of these games going to be feeling pretty hot.
Well, he's going to have to because they are 1-0 down in the series at the moment. And I want to talk about Era Eternity a little bit. One thing that really stood out for me, Dan, was the aggression. It just seemed like from the first round, they were all up in the faces of Ghost Gaming and letting them know that they weren't just going to sit back. They weren't going to play poke damage. If there was any opportunity to push whatsoever, they took it. Foot on the gas, straight forward, get those knocks.
Yeah, I think that's the responsibility of the Pathfinder sometimes, is that if either the IGL is making the call or you make the call yourself, once that damage has been done, you need to be sending it and you need to be prepared to look at all angles, because if you mess that grapple up, you can leave yourself in a pretty sticky situation where you are surrounded by all three players. So you need to focus and you need to be then communicating to the rest of the team who you've done damage to, if you haven't knocked them, of course. If you have knocked someone, you need to quickly transition to someone you're going to do damage with. That helps your team, whoever they're shooting at.
Now, I think we're going into Overflow next, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be a little bit of a fast-paced map once again. We do see a little bit of a standoff sometimes, but with the zone closing as quickly as it does here, we see the teams forced to engage. And with the way that first map went, I get the feeling that Era Eternity are going to be quite happy now to be on these maps where those quick engagements are going to happen.
Yeah, I think Reflection said that the first map was a must-win for Ghost Gaming. They haven't won that. Now we're moving over to two very quick, fast-paced maps that should suit Era Eternity. But at the same time, this is now going to force Ghost Gaming to play a little bit quicker, and they might just be a bit more comfortable when the map actually forces and dictates them to do so. Usually we see a very slow-paced map on the previous on Party Crasher, but on this, we're going to see a lot more just kind of yeeting yourself to the middle right at the start of the game. You have to hit your shots in those 1v1 engagements, because if you don't, you can leave yourself very vulnerable, angles get taken, positions get taken, and then you probably lose the map.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if Ghost Gaming can turn this one around, because sometimes when you play a first map like that and you get a little bit shell-shocked, to be honest with you, with the way that things went down. As I say, it should have been a 3-0. We all know it should have been a 3-0, apart from that crazy 1v3. Then when you're already forced to have early engagements that are up close, it kind of puts you on the back foot a little bit. You're not as willing to take those engagements as maybe you were on the other end of things like Era Eternity might be. So for Ghost Gaming, I think they've got to have just a few seconds here, take a deep breath and just reassess how they want to take this. And if the fight does come to them, they've got to meet it with equal aggression. Otherwise, they're just going to get flattened.
Yeah, if they do try and sit back here, I think the Era Eternity are going to push to the middle of the map quite quickly, whether that be via jump pads, whether that be via Pathfinder. And if they're not greeted by instant damage, they will be slowly creeping up on them. They will be doing poke damage, but it's aggressive poke damage. It's every time you do that damage, you take one stride forward. And with every stride, you then force your opponent into somewhat of a corner, into an awkward position where they're not able to maybe take as many angles as you are. They get pinched, and then usually that means you're going to lose the round unless someone goes huge in a 1 versus 3 or a 1 versus 2. Because at the end of the day, if you hit your shots, you're probably going to win the round.
Well, this is going to be the amphitheater, if you like, of where the second map is going to take place. You like that, Dan?
I
Got the
did,
thesaurus out last night. Had a little flick through. Luckily for me, the page it landed on said amphitheater, which was into the sentence which I was trying to construct. But obviously, care package still going to be vital. We have seen the PK pop up a couple of times in that, Dan, and the Peacekeeper has the ability to do huge damage very, very quickly in those close engagements, and it has won rounds for teams.
Yeah, it has. I think shotguns are very important, as they have been for quite some time in Apex Legends, but you pointed out yesterday it is in a very healthy state where every shotgun is usable at this point, and it comes down to preference. I think it comes down to what you feel like you can hit your shots more consistently with. The fire rates of some of the guns are a little bit awkward. The EVA 8 can be awkward to hit your shots consistently, and I personally find when I'm using an EVA 8, I get a little bit lost. I prefer something like a Mastiff or a Peacekeeper where I take my time to hit my shots, where I can line them up. But I am on mouse and keyboard rather than controller. I think controller players might prefer a little bit of a faster fire rate because you naturally are able to stay on your target for a little bit longer.
We're going to have to see if any of those shotguns do have an impact. We've already seen the Mastiff having an impact in the previous round. So now it's time for our second round to get underway. Our second map of the series between Era Eternity and Ghost Gaming. And finally, Dan, we're live and we're stuck behind the grid. Let's get going.
Well, you're saying that Ghost Gaming wanted to have a little breather. They've been able to have that breather now with the server being reset. Not able to get into the game quickly. Might have killed off the momentum ever so slightly for Era Eternity, but both teams going to take a different approach here. Either side of the map being gained. Usually, you do have a little standoff here. One team on the upper side, one team on the somewhat lower side, but I would rather be on Era Eternity's side for this circle right now, but when it does move in, both teams are going to find it awkward as they are going to get tickled by the red, and you do just have to use whatever you can for any sort of cover, whether that just be the little generators that are down there, whether it's any pipes you can get behind, because cover is everything in arenas.
One player's going to be caught out down low here, and that's Bowswer, who's managed to escape for now, but he was only down to around 50 HP. It might have been one more wingman shot that could have changed things. The car going to be, oh, excuse me, it's actually going to be a Hemlock, which is picked up here by Metro from the care package. So he's going to have the advantage of having a 2-time scope, plus that blue mag as well, just to keep that continued sort of suppressing fire down across these difficult angles. But Ghost Gaming, you can see, kind of rotated now back to what was their spawn side, and the same can be said about Era Eternity. Oxyaries is going to be down on the low ground, and he does some good damage with the Mozambique. However, the shots are going to be coming in. Oxyaries gets the first knock. Stuhni and him will fall. Bowswer now left on his own. Can he finish off the Gibby? No, he can't. The teammates all arrive in time, and it'll be Ghost Gaming who get off to the best possible start here in round number 1.
Yeah, Ghost Gaming, they thought they'd, caught Oxyaries off guard there, and that maybe they were going to win a 1v2 or a 2v1 and take him down, but Oxyaries doing some serious damage and just being awkward. Very important when you're on the Octane that you strafe as much as possible. It's so difficult to hit an Octane when they are, excuse me, when they are moving at speed. That's not the concussion. I think I just swallowed something or something went down the wrong hole. But when Octanes are moving at speed, when they've actually stimmed themselves up, so difficult to hit. And if you're then hitting the shots as the Octane as well, oh boy, is it just so awkward for the other team.
Yeah, one thing that always stood out to me as a piece of advice for anyone watching as we get into our second round here, when you're in a position where you feel like you might go down, a Halo player called I Got Your Pistola, I'm sure that a lot of you may know him, some of you might not, but he said, the one thing that I always try and do when I know I'm going to die is output as much damage as I physically can before I hit that ground. So that was a good example of it there. And then, oh my word, I talked about the Peacekeeper. Well, Bowser's going to pick up the first knock onto 6 here, and it's a 3v2 now in favor of Era.
Yep, so this is a round that, again, should go in favor of Era Eternity here. When it is a 3 versus 2, you have so much more health. You have an extra player on the map, for goodness sake. Metro doing a little bit of damage. Pandxrz goes down, so does Metro. Era Eternity, again, 2-0 up in the map. And just to go back to your point, yeah, absolutely. It's the same for Battle Royale as well. We see it far too much, and I personally have been guilty of it. When you're in a game like Apex where you can quickly heal, you just want to turn, you want to run away, you want to heal up and then get back into the fight. But sometimes then you put your teammates at risk because they're going to be the focus point. So instead, get that damage done. Just assume that, you've got full shields once again, because you're not guaranteed to go down. The other team's not always going to hit those shots, although, at this level, most of the time they do, because some of these players are absolutely insane. Anyway, Era Eternity are starting to pop off a little bit here. Very impressed with what they've had to offer.
So 1-1 then, as Stuhni once again will get these meds pretty much uncontested, and similar to what we saw in round number 1, both teams taking different sides of the map, and oh my word, we just saw a spray. And there wasn't any prayers at the end of it as well, because one hit pretty hard. Metro going to retreat this time though to his teammate. He's going to jump behind the Gibby, and he'll jump behind the gun shield as well, just for a little bit of extra cover as he holds the ground. Pandxrz with a couple of shots not quite connecting for now, but we're back to where we started. Ghost Gaming holding this hut side of Overflow, and on the other side, the kind of silo side, is going to be Era Eternity looking to return fire.
Metro again, first player to take some damage. That can happen though when you are the Octane. Sometimes you just spread yourselves away from the team to try and take some sort of angles. Ghost Gaming are all going to rotate together around to the side. Bowser's going to be the first point of contact here, but it looks like he's able to back off as well. Are Ghost Gaming put themselves in a bad position here? That would be my question.
86 with the choked up PK is going to be pretty good. The bubble comes in as well. Gibraltar gets broken. 40 as well. Can he finish it? Yes, he can. We talked about the shotguns and their influence. Well, you're seeing it right now. Pandxrz replies with a Mastiff of his own. And the bubble fight is eventually won by Ghost Gaming. And now they find themselves on map point. The perfect response if they can take the next round.
Yeah, Ghost Gaming had to make sure they won that one. They all transitioned together successfully around the corner. And I did think they were putting themselves in a somewhat vulnerable position. But when you are hitting your shots, when you're winning these engagements in the bubble fights, and it doesn't matter, you just all need to communicate, make sure you're on the same page, make sure you're all focusing the same legend. I think what Ghost Gaming struggled with in previous rounds that they were losing is they were all taking individual fights. They were losing those individual fights, but the teamwork should be better on Ghost Gaming than it is on Era Eternity, just for the fact that Era Eternity have a sub, Ghost Gaming do not.
Jump pad this time, and on the other side of things, there's going to be one in reply from Era Eternity. So we're going to see a little bit of a rumble in the jungle around this hut as all teams and all players fly towards the same location. Choked up PK once again, looking for any kind of opening that comes. If that door swings open, you know that the shot's going to come pretty quickly. 46 this time, bubble goes down, so damage has been done by Era Eternity here. Ghost just trying to hold the bubble. And Six doing a pretty good job of that on the Gibraltar.
Six just standing there with a Mastiff saying, come on then, let's see what you can do. Let's see if you can avoid my Mastiff shots. It very much was puffing his chest out, and it's worked out because Ghost Gaming have now been able to get back up to full health. That one only tags for 11. But we're having a little bit of a skirmish here in the middle, and Six has to be careful.
Yeah, that's a flying Gibby, and yeah, it didn't land quite as gracefully, I think, as he would have wanted to. Pandxrz now watching his teammate Metro go down. Can he finish off this kill? It might have given him an opportunity to really clutch up in this situation, but I'm pretty sure this is a 1v1. Yes, it is, and Ghost Gaming will win the 1v1, and they will win the map as well. We've got a series on our hands now, Dan, tied up at 1-1.
Yeah, it was looking a little bit scary at some points. Ghost Gaming, they let it slip here or there, but ultimately they were able to win that engagement. I thought after the first knock, Era Eternity maybe were going to be able to take that round, but Ghost Gaming seem to have that clutch factor. They seem to have that ability to win against the odds, even if the odds are quite small when it is just a 2 versus 3 of two players who are quite low. I think that's what happened in that last round.
And we're tied up at 1-1 now between Era Eternity and Ghost Gaming. We're going to take a few moments just to get into a break before we get back with map number 3.
Welcome back, everybody, to the UMG Champions Apex Legends Arena $10,000 Invitational. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Onset and Gaskin. What an amazing series we have at hand, boys. Onset, I can't lie to you. After I saw that map number 1, despite Oxyaries coming in place of Dezignful, which threw the narrative completely out of the window, the narrative stayed the same in a way, right? Because Era ended up winning map number 1 3-1, and I thought it was going to be bad news for Ghost heading into map 2 of Overflow, but not so much. I'm seeing some new life from Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost looked a lot better in that second map, and I completely agree with you. It's lovely to set up a narrative on a desk beforehand about the player and everything that's going to go down and how good he's going to be, and then the players are like, yeah, we're not going to tell you, but we've got a different sub in today. So shout out to Era Eternity for making us smile. You know, it's all good. We understand people got things to do, right? But you can see the series score here. It's tied up at 1-1. Party Crasher next, and this is an interesting one for me because it can be played at 2 different paces. You can play it at the same pace that we saw Era Eternity try and do on Phase Runner, which was a little bit slower, whereas you can also play it in a very fast-paced way, which Ghost Gaming had success with in the last map. So yeah, I think Ghost's going to try and be aggressive, and I think it's going to be up to Era to try and respond with a similar kind of aggression.
And Gaskin, I just want you to touch on that. It's a perfect point. Ghost, are they going to be aggressive here? They're going to try and pace it out. I thought originally coming into this, they would try and slow things down, but I think they're feeling more confident than ever to push Era.
Yeah, I think some maps force you to play a little bit slower, some maps force you to play a little bit faster, whereas this third map, Mark said, you can play it either way, so I'm kind of lost. I don't really know where they're going to go with this one, but judging by the fact Era Eternity are a very aggressive team, and they've just won against them by matching that aggression, I would suggest they're probably going to go for an aggressive style, especially in the first round, if not the second, whilst those weapons are a little bit, you know, kind of dud, they're not really going to be as amped up as they can be in the later rounds. Take advantage of just the raw aim of some of these players, excuse me, with the wingman.
Yeah, and just to sidestep a little bit, there was a lot of questions as to who won that matchup in round 1 on the top of the bracket. We gave you the update before. We were in a round number or a map number 4, excuse me, between Na'Vi and Esports Arena, and unfortunately for EU fans, Na'Vi will fall short. Esports Arena will move forward, but that makes that matchup between Esports Arena and Arena Demons absolutely insane. Plus, you got 2 arenas facing off against each other. It's going to be fun, but that is going to be one for the future. Back on board with Era and Ghost. Man, that 1v3 onset was beautiful. And sadly, it didn't give the momentum for Ghost to win map number 1, but it still was a statement to show, like, look, man, you leave me by myself, I can still clutch up.
Yeah, 2 ways to look at it. Brilliant from one hand, absolutely dreadful on the other hand, depending on what team you support, right? Because amazing to hit those kind of shots, but if you run at someone one by one, you expect to fail, you deserve to fail. So, I'm going to go on the good side of things though, because it was a crazy individual play. The flatline spray though, whew, that was naughty. That was crazy control on the recoil there.
Oh, we might see some more of the flatline plays. Pandxrz is going to be coming up next. Map number 3, a turning point for one of the teams, right? Because we're tied up 1-1. Who's going to take it? Well, we're going to find out shortly. Onset Gaskin, take it away.
Thank you very much, Taylor. 1-1 then, Dan. We've got a series on our hands, like I mentioned previously. And now we're heading over to Pandxrz. And the question for you, Dan Gaskin, you beautiful man, is who's going to crash the party here? Is it going to be Era Eternity, or will it be Ghost Gaming who take home our next map?
Usually it's Reflections crashing the party. Like when there's 2 of us and we're like, hey, we run this show, and then he just comes back in very rudely, may I add.
You're risking it again. You're risking it again. You know he's got the power to appear out of nowhere.
It's because
like
I've heard
wizard.
game starting in my ear, so now I know he can't come back. He doesn't have that
brave.
much power. Very worrying. Yeah, I think that Era Eternity should be able to take this one if they can stop Ghost Gaming from matching their aggression. If they can force Ghost Gaming to play a slow, methodical approach, go for that poke damage. I feel like Era Eternity were better at playing that kind of stride at a time game where they slowly take more and more map control off of Ghost Gaming. But if Ghost Gaming do get very aggressive, they get the opening damage, then they should be able to do enough to win rounds here. But to ask who's going to actually crash the party, well, I predicted Ghost, so I guess I have to go with Ghost.
And this is a really off-topic weird thing just to kind of give to everyone right now a little bit about how my brain works. But I saw the word Riviere on the wall here on Pandxrz, and I just wondered how many people don't know the word Riviere. A little bit like you didn't know a word yesterday. I'm moving on anyway, because on the new map Storm Point, right, there's a POI which is called Barometer, and I have played with 2 people so far who have called it Barometer, and you are idiots. You are idiots. Okay, it's Barometer. Anyway, into the game. Era Eternity versus Ghost Gaming, all tied up 1-1 in the series. And at the moment, it's a little bit of a slow game, but that might just speed things up as a little crack comes in now from 6.
Yeah, this is not good for Era Eternity. They don't want to be on the back foot and allowing Ghost Gaming to be the ones who are dictating the pace of play. Instead, Era Eternity want to be forcing Ghost back. At least they've been able to shield up. Ghost haven't taken advantage of the early damage, but 6 has got himself into a little bit of a sneaky spot. Now, what Ghost Gaming need to do is they need to bait him here. They need to make sure that someone just kind of encourages Era Eternity to push out so that then 6 can shoot them in the back. This could be a fantastic spot.
Well, 6 has got a lot of pressure on his shoulders right now, but you could say, like you mentioned, same could be said to his teammates doing the job of not getting picked, staying alive, because they're kind of in a 2v3 situation if you think about how the game is working with lines of sight, etc. But Pandxrz is actually going to have to retreat here and pop that Phoenix kit, and it looks like 6 has been called out. He jumps into the void to escape for now, but with both of his teammates down to low shields, that means that Era Eternity are going to be able to close all of this ground, and most importantly, speaking of ground, they're going to have the highest point.
Most have been able to heal up pretty much, but now Era Eternity have taken the map off of them. 76 is big, Metro down to just a slither of HP, and now the rest of Era Eternity are going to push up, and it should just be easy at this point, and easy it is. 6 in a 1 versus 3, we've seen crazy things happen. It's not going to happen. Spoiler alert, he's going down. Era Eternity take the first round.
I love how every time that you're guaranteeing something to happen right now, you don't make a crazy promise at the end of it, and you've learned your lesson. I'm very proud of you. I'm very, very proud of you. Let's take a look at the replays of that first round, because it was just that moment we were talking about. It was all up to the Wraith to see if they could, make a play, but he got spotted, he got called out, and then from there had to retreat, and that allowed Era Eternity to make the play, to take the high ground. And then from there, it was shooting fish in a barrel, to use a phrase that everybody's heard 1,000 times. But 1-0 is the score to Era Eternity. And the one thing that stood out to me, Dan, was as soon as there was an opportunity to go forward, they did not think twice about taking it.
Yeah, which was different on the other side for Ghost Gaming. Ghost Gaming got the initial damage, they got a crack, but they didn't all send it. Instead, they just put 6 in a position to try and go for a little bit of a sneaky play. Again, I'm not against it. I think it was a play that could have worked, but unfortunately just got caught out. The rest of his teammates weren't able to lure the Era Eternity team out enough. And that was just a bit frustrating. Stuhni needs to be careful here. He's going to have to retreat as he's been cracked, and that will give Ghost Gaming the chance to pick up some more meds.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting zone. This is one that usually pulls down towards the center where there's not a huge amount of cover. You kind of have the fountain to play around. There's a couple of pills and a bridge, but it's going to be a bit of a standoff because, like you said, Era Eternity lost that initial poke damage battle. And Bowswer losing another one from range. Going to have to use that Phoenix kit to get back up to full HP. Oxyeri's taking a little bit of damage as well, and it seems like Ghost Gaming are hitting some better shots from distance here.
The package offering some goodies. 30-30 repeater going to be the selection for Stuhni, and dropping some ammo as well just to ensure that his teammates have got that light, as he's not going to be using it. And now this 30-30, have to put it to work, have to connect with it to try and initiate another push for your team. So Stuhni could be the leader here. The good thing about putting someone like a Pathfinder on any sort of distance weapon, they can do the damage, the other two push in, and then the Pathfinder can grapple in, absolutely yeet his way across the map and join the fight.
No knocks really, or any chance of knock, so to speak, that could be taken advantage of so far in this round. It's a little bit of a slow burner, this one. 30-30 repeater still not being able to connect here from Stuhni, but at least he's managing to kind of restrict a player to where he can move to and what angles he can take. So Stuhni now repositioning, trying to see if he can find some targets. Ghost Gaming now making a little bit of a play. You can see Metro's the furthest up, but he's going to get away his position here with some shots that do go down. Pandxrz just playing this lower side, seeing if he can get any damage. And now we're going to see the team start to engage a little bit more as the zone's going to force them in.
Yeah, so he's just going to make them have to quickly decide how they want to play this one. But it looks like both teams taking either side of this central area, whereas 6 is slightly on his own right now, so has to be a little bit careful. But we could go for a pinch, and if the damage comes through, this is going to be difficult for Era Eternity. But Metro will fall. Oxyeri's proving his worth once again.
Yeah, good job there from Era Eternity to hit the shots when they needed to. And even though they looked like they were a little bit stuck in a corner, Ghost Gaming gave away that first knock, maybe slightly over-challenging in that position. And now Era Eternity, as quickly as that, Dan, find themselves on map point.
Yeah, map point again. Just as we saw in map number 1, they went up 2-0 very quickly, but then it almost became a situation where they were picking themselves after losing a 1 versus 3. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Actually, I hope it does happen again, because it's pretty fun to watch 1v3. Yeah. But for Era Eternity's sake, I hope it doesn't. But Ghost Gaming, they just don't seem to be taking advantage of the damage when they do get it, whereas Era Eternity are more inclined to completely send it. And again, that can come down to the fact that, Era Eternity don't have as much strategy, it would seem, as Ghost Gaming. Ghost Gaming seem to have a plan A, plan B, plan C, but Era Eternity, when they're on, and when they're hitting their shots, I mean, they look pretty unbeatable.
Pandxrz has managed to steal away every single piece of the cake that was inside of that little meds pill. As Ghost Gaming already forced, Pandxrz being forced to use one of those Phoenix kits. Ghost Gaming, this time it's a little bit of a slower burn for them. Not trying to force 6 up onto the front of that building. He's trying to take some more traditional angles, so to speak. And we can see the Pandxrz has got his head on a swivel at the moment. Trying to just locate his crosshair to 2 different players. Maybe he's the bait this time. As Bowswer now takes a slightly wider angle, but you can see he's just trying to manage his resources as well. Not popping any shield cells, not popping any batteries at the moment, even though he was lower on shields.
We talk about how impressive Ares has played, by the way, considering the fact that he has come in as a substitute for a substitute and has been hitting his shots when there would be that pressure. As I say that, he's very low right now, does need to be careful, but looks like he's been able to retreat and will heal up. The Era Eternity on the back foot in terms of damage right now. But again, Ghost haven't pushed up on it, but now they'll push up.
Yeah, I mean, one mistake is all it takes, and it will be Stuhni who falls on the Pathfinder. Just showed a little bit too much shoulder in that particular circumstance and was eliminated almost immediately. And now Ghost are going to take advantage of it. However, Oxyeri's He evens things up at 2-2 here. One player, Pandxrz, getting caught out of position, but with the high ground advantage and with the Wraith holding, we'll be able to get Stuhni back up for now. And now they repoke, they get the re-knock, but it'll be traded out. And it's now Oxieres left on his own, the substitute. And can he be a super sub? Can he get this final finish on Theo's? I'm not sure he actually spotted that player that was down low. And that's going to cost him.
I'm guessing the Metro was just hiding behind the knockdown shield there, and it was just not visible. And in that kind of quick space of time where you have to make a split-second decision, do you follow or do you look back up? Just didn't see Metro. I don't think it would have mattered too much anyway. Even if it got that knock, probably was in a vulnerable position. Also, can we not talk about showing shoulders? I think that was very insensitive of you, and you need to have another look at your Thesaurus and find some more words, okay?
It's called a thesaurus, Dan. Not a Theosaurus, but
you're a Theosaurus.
The
dinosaur that reads a Theosaurus is called a Theosaurus. Okay?
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry. That's one in the dictionary as well.
Yeah.
It's fine. Moving on. Era Eternity still one round away from closing out our third map of the series and getting themselves into a great position. Pandxrz, they're taking a lot of damage there at the start of things, Dan. And for Ghost Gaming now, I feel like this is a vital round for them to win. Otherwise, they put themselves right up against the wall, and not only for map point, but also series point as well.
Two of the players are very weak, but Era Eternity have equally taken some damage, so they haven't pushed up. They haven't tried to finish off those players. Again, a lot of responsibility comes down to these players who sit on top of these ships with the wingman to hit those shots, to get that initial damage so that then they can encourage the rest of the team to push up. Stuhni is the point of contact at the moment. 2 bars off full health, but we'll be able to heal that up with some shield cells. Ghost Gaming, they look the more confident in this round. They're the ones who are trying to make a move. They're trying to dictate the pace of play here.
Yeah, I think you need to do it. You need to try and take the initiative. You cannot let a mistake happen and leave yourself thinking, hey, we could have done something in that round. We should have tried to at least do something. Because if they do lose this round, and as I say, they will lose the map as well. Oxieres having a little poke there on the right-hand side of your screen. Stuhni is taken down to low shields once more. And Oxieres, you can see he's trying to be very sneaky across bottom mid here, just crouching, not trying to give any audio cues he can whatsoever to get into that position to maybe pounce on any damage that's done. But here comes Era Eternity. They've decided it is time to go. 2 players around the corner. They don't get that first knock, but 3 players down. Low now, they've managed to take that high ground, and also they've managed to take a lot of shield cells out of their opposition.
They didn't get too desperate for those kills, even though they've done a considerable amount of damage to Ghost Gaming there. They know they were walking into a potential death trap and ambush if they had have followed. So instead, they'll take the chance to reset as well. They'll take the high ground and force Ghost into this building, and now it's just a case of playing the patient game. And Ghost need to come up with something, because I don't think Era Eternity are going to drop on them here.
Couple of fake grapples coming out from Pandxrz as well, just trying to make Era Eternity turn their attention to the back of that ship. But at the moment, you can see this position, like you're saying, Dan, I love this as well. Oxieres is just waiting in the grass for anyone to poke out, any prey who want to show. And Stuhni and Bowswer can jump if he can get any kind of damage done. So Oxieres is the power player in a power position right now.
Yeah, this is one of the longer rounds we've had between these two teams. You did say you hate kind of people sitting in buildings and staring through doors like creepy neighbors. I don't know what neighbors you've got, but my neighbors don't stare through my doors creepily.
God, I've lived in a lot of different places.
For a cup of
I've
tea.
met a lot of different people.
Anyway, here we go. Finally the push. 6 is actually going to push out as the Wraith. That's the important factor. Now you've got to hit the shots because you're unknown there.
Shots do get hit. Oxieres can take a lot of damage to zone here, and he was the power player, but he gets dumped on his backside as Metro will fall as well. Pandxrz is now the last person alive. He manages to get one, and that will be the final one as well. And a huge round there for Ghost Gaming to clutch up. And one where you feel that maybe they shouldn't have been able to do that, Dan.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was just a case of Ares not realizing that he was going to take that much ring damage, but he was in a great position. But I really like the bait being played by Ghost. They sent out 6, and then he became the focal point. And unfortunately, just not able to do that amount of damage at the end. There was too much health on the side of Ghost Gaming. I don't think Ares had done enough damage considering the position he was in. He had 2 choices. He could either shoot the Wraith that had portaled out. He did get 3 shots, but he only did about 90 damage. Or he could continue to focus that door. The thing is, if he continued to focus that door, he could have potentially left himself vulnerable to them being shot in the side. ultimately, I think Ghost Gaming just played that very, very well.
All tied up once again then between Era Eternity and Ghost Gaming. Couple of Skynades going to come in here, and you can see they're crashing. It's the name of the game. It looks like it for Ghost Gaming. Pandxrz is going to take some height, but he's going to be forced down almost immediately from it. So Ghost Gaming starting to warm up a little bit here, Dan. The shots are looking a little bit more crispy than they were earlier.
Yeah, there was a few missteps a little bit earlier, that's for sure, but now they all seem to be on the same page, Ghost Gaming. Their pushes have been better, their executions have been more on point. But that doesn't mean it's going to necessarily win them the map guarantee. 2-2, so we have to go to 4 now. It's not just first 3. That was a very long standoff round, and I think Era Eternity will be frustrated they didn't make more of that. Now Ghost Gaming, they are down low here, so they could find themselves in a sticky situation. If one of these nades connects, then Era Eternity might push up, but Ghost will dance out of the way.
This way.
Another frag grenade here for Bowswer as well, and as the zone gets closer, those frag grenades can be even more impactful. Pandxrz trying to play this low ground. He's got the Mastiff in hand. He's got a digi threat on it as well, just trying to see if he can locate that reticle onto anyone above him. The frag grenade doesn't hit a target though. The Era Eternity, like you say, controlling the height here, which you always think is a good thing to do, but if you don't have lines of sight, the longer it takes you to get down there, Dan, then you kind of leave yourself vulnerable to moving through a couple of chokes towards your opponents.
Yeah, I mean, height didn't win them the game in the previous round, but at the same time, the circle forced them off of that height pretty early, whereas it's not going to do that just yet. For now, they've got plenty of time to work with, but Pandxrz has been able to creep his way up top and has done a considerable amount of damage, and Ghost Gaming now can look to try and go for a push if they want to here, because they have managed to take Bowswer down very low, but it looks like they don't fancy it just yet. It wasn't enough damage for them. They'd rather get a knock before they push.
Yeah, moving from low ground to high ground to take advantage of damage is much, much more difficult to do as well. Here's a 1v1 though, and the 5th floor on the elevator gets hit very quickly by the Pathfinder as he disappears back up to the penthouse suite. Shots coming down from high. Oxyaries is going to be having to force another battery down, and now we're starting to see the engagement. Stuhni having a little peek over the corner as well, but he can't make contact, and a little bit of a nervy round this one, tied up at 2-2 down.
Yeah, it could be a case of a final circle again, but actually no, Era Eternity have decided they want to push before that final circle. Pandxrz and 6 will fall. It's a 3 versus 1. Era Eternity will clean it up and go 3-2 up here. And it was quite simple in the end after they'd done the damage, but it was a brave and well-calculated push from Era Eternity. Once they saw that circle, they probably realised their high ground wasn't worth as much as it was previously, so instead they said, look, we've done a little bit of poke damage here, let's try and surprise Ghost by dropping on them.
Yeah, the pace of that round really did change. Right at the start, it was Ghost Gaming hitting good damage, trying to push up on different positions and trying to take advantage, but Era Eternity managed to hold them off for the entirety of that kind of 15-second skirmish without taking too much damage, which caused that initial knock, and then being able to force their opponents back down onto that low ground really was the key for them. So a really well played round there by Era Eternity, and now this could be the one where they take the lead in maps 2-1 if they can close things out.
And with the same circle, Era Eternity, are they able to get the height? The jump not quite there, the zip didn't quite get them there. Now Ghost Gaming going to hold the height here, so it's going to be a complete reverse, a flip of the previous. Pandxrz is trying to take an angle to be a little bit of a nuisance. Everyone retreats and will heal up. Oxyaries being the weakest member of Era Eternity right now, but as I say that, the battery does get popped. And the circle is going to be pretty similar, however, it's going to force them into the middle earlier than it did previously. So even though Ghost Gaming have the high ground and the advantage right now, it's not going to last for as long as it did on the side of Era Eternity.
It looks like Pandxrz is going to have a little poke down low as well. And speaking of low, look at his HP. His teammates are there to try and give him some cover, but Stuhni goes up to the high ground. Pandxrz is still using that battery as well, and now Stuhni finds himself in a difficult spot. And Ghost Gaming kind of all over the place here as Bowswer gets the first knock. And that could be absolutely massive here for Era Eternity to close things out. Pandxrz has a little pop around the corner as well. If he can clean up Bowswer, maybe there'll be a chance. However, he jumps into the void now. Metro still not being able to be rezzed as 6 picks up the kill onto Oxyaries. Pandxrz now moves in as well. Stuhni is in front of him, and Stuhni will win that one too. And now it's 6 versus Bowswer, and another player, Stuhni, he gets one, but not the second. Era Eternity will clutch up, and Era Eternity will go up 2-1 in the series.
Yeah, Era Eternity just proving that when they do execute a push, they do it somewhat flawlessly. The damage output from these 3 players is incredible. Unfortunately for Ghost Gaming, they were just getting caught out here or there. One player often taking a little bit too much damage, maybe thinking they would be able to take that much damage and then push away, but it wasn't going to be the case there. Ghost Gaming will go 2-1 down, so Era Eternity put themselves onto series point in this next map, or series map, should I say. I don't know what the easiest way to say it. It doesn't matter. There's points, there's maps, and someone's going to win. That's all you need to know.
Matt, that is, yeah, you're right. I'm just going to agree with you there. That's a difficult sentence to get out, and I tried to do it. Just didn't even try. The story is, though, Dan, if they win the next map, then they will win the series.
That was an easier way to say it
to everyone. That's a much easier way for everyone to get up to speed with exactly where we are in the series right now. These are some replays coming in from the action that we saw on her. It was a scrappy affair between the two, Dan, is my kind of takeaway from it. It never felt like either team was really in control of any of the rounds.
No, and I'd say that Ghost Gaming didn't take advantage of their damage as much as Era Eternity did, and that's probably why Era Eternity came out on top. But that might be a lesson learned for Ghost going into the next map, that when they do, crack someone or get someone considerably weak, they need to just push up and not be scared of the two remaining players who are holding. I know that sometimes they did take some damage. There was a good reply from Era Eternity when Ghost had done the initial damage, but it wasn't always enough to discourage a push completely. Anyway, Era Eternity certainly seemed very much better at taking advantage of their damage, and it did show in that game.
Yeah, there's a couple of rounds which I think maybe Ghost Gaming, like you say, had control of, that they weren't able to convert into round wins. And you got to give credit to Era Eternity. Every single time they felt like they were on the back foot, or looked like they were on the back foot from my point of view, they managed to find a position to heal and managed to find a position to fight back from. There was one round in particular down on the low ground where they did a really good job of this. And the same could be said in these latter rounds when they had that height control off the initial break. They were taking a lot of damage, but managed to find a position and doing a good job of covering each other. One player who's healthy, covering the player who is healing, always an important thing to communicate.
Yeah, I think if you don't have that, if you leave yourselves too exposed when one player is healing, then you're just going to lose round after round. But Era Eternity, they caught Ghost Gaming off guard quite a lot. I think they timed their pushes very well. They tried to do it when Ghost Gaming would least expect it. At the time when the circle pulled, and they're probably talking about how they're going to play that final circle that was just about to sit outside of the door, and whilst that conversation's most likely happening, that's when Era Eternity decided it was time to go, and they started to execute the push. Thermal Station is going to be map number 4, as you can see though, and again, can be another one of these maps that can be played quite fast-paced, but also can be quite pokey depending on when that circle and where that circle goes.
Yeah, with the way the series has gone so far, I'm expecting a little bit of a scrappy game to be here, to be honest, between the two teams. I think it is going to be a little bit of poke damage done here and there, and then, whoever gets that initial damage done is going to try and push. But for Ghost Gaming, I want to see them up the ante a little bit here. I think you're completely right. They've got the initial damage done a lot of times in early rounds, but they haven't taken... It's not about just taking control to the fact where you get the first knock. It's about putting pressure, taking angles, pushing up, and really kind of stifling any of the lines of sight that your opponents can take in response. So for Ghost Gaming, I think that's the key to success for them here. If they want to send it to Encore, they want to send it to a map 5, then they really need to start just putting the pressure onto their opponents after that damage is done.
Yeah, they need someone who has been doing what Ares has been doing, and that is like wandering around and finding angles that is not going to be expected and catching the other team by surprise. It does take a player who is pretty brave, because you can be punished for it and you can be blamed on the round because you're going to take a lot of damage. But we'll see how aggressive both of these teams are. We'll see if anyone is going to push in early.
Well, speaking of aggression, there it is. Era Eternity decide they want to get this done as quickly as physically possible. Stuhni finds the first one onto Pandxrz, and that was just getting caught off guard here. And now the rest of the team are moving in. However, taking a few moments there to reset the reticle, and finally manages to get the knock. 6 is on his own, 6 is on his back, and that will be Era Eternity starting the round and starting the map in the fastest possible way then.
Yeah, and it was Stuhni just absolutely launching himself across the map with the grapple and then hitting the shots that followed alongside Ares, who was there to help out and just get that final bit of damage onto Pandxrz. But I mean, I've been talking about Ares a lot, but I guess we should start talking about Stuhni and Bowswer a little bit more, because we were talking about Dezignful, we were talking about Ares, but these are the same two guys who are actually on Era Eternity, and there seems to be a pattern emerging. Is just they are very good at the game, and they are pretty good at arenas as well, because they are finding so much success, and it doesn't matter who you put on the team with them, they seem to be still just hitting their shots, and the teamwork is all there as well.
I completely agree with you. I think it's one of those things, isn't it? When you're a commentator, you're a caster, or if you're a fan at home, you see, hey, something's different. Let's talk about that. But the consistency of those two players cannot be understated. And oh my word, jumping into the void is Six, who manages to get away for now. But look at this aggression again from Stuhni. He wants him dead, and he gets him dead. Six will fall. And now Ghost Gaming find themselves once again in a 2v3, even with some nice shots coming in from Metro.
This could be the beginning of the end if this is 2-0. Ghost Gaming will be on the back foot when it comes to the economy, and they just seem a little bit lost here on Thermal Station. Pandxrz, the last remaining player. We've seen amazing things from him, but he has to find that little bit of magic once again here. But no shotgun to work with. This time, unfortunately, will fall. Era Eternity now are on series point here, and that is not good news for Ghost Gaming. And Era Eternity on the brink of getting revenge from UMG Invitational number 2, where they got absolutely obliterated by Ghost Gaming in this round.
Well, just to sum it up, we struggled a little bit earlier to get the sentence out, but if they win the round, they win the map, they win the map, they win the series. It's as simple as that now for Era Eternity. Ghost Gaming really have been caught off guard here, to be honest with you. It has been just sheer aggression, and it has been all coming from the Pathfinder as well. Stuhni's been making some big, impactful plays, and we talk about stats and how they don't always apply, Dan. Well, that's one of the ones that we never really can track. There's impactful kills at starts of rounds, but this time it looks like Stuhni is getting focused a little bit more.
Well, Era Eternity have got a free round here because they can be aggressive, they can do something maybe a little bit crazy, but somehow he's avoided all of those nades, which is mental.
Now he's going to reply with one of his own. Finally, Metro will move up to take Stuhni out of the game, and that's what Ghost Gaming needed to do. That was one of the keys for them to have success. The finish comes in as well. So Ghost Gaming showing a little bit of life here. They have a 3v2. They have one player trapped inside of the central structure as well. Bowser's trying to get into a position, but look at this. They're just aping inside, quite rightly so as well. As Era Eternity somehow make this a 2v2.
Well, the answer back because Ares has just gone absolutely huge there with the damage. Metro is going to be picked back up though. Unfortunately for Era Eternity, they're not able to take advantage of that initial knock. Ghost Gaming have been trapped inside here, and Pandxrz trying to do his job with the Mastiff.
Bowser takes 11 and 55, and he'll take a final chunk to the body as well. And Ghost Gaming, who haven't looked the most smooth in this round, do have a significant advantage as we head towards the end here. Oxy Ares has been nuts so far today, but even he can't get the job done, and it will be Ghost Gaming answering back. 2-1 now in the series, but Era Eternity still on series point.
I think the Era Eternity as a 2 there had to push up once they got that knock. They couldn't allow that res to happen. Instead, they just were like, oh, well, you know, Ghost Gaming are in the middle. We can probably watch the exits here. Maybe we can do something as a 2 versus 3 in that situation where we can funnel them through a choke point. I don't think that's the way you play it. I think instead you have to just try and pounce on them and take the 2v2. Otherwise, that happens. You allow them to get back up to a 3, they can then pick and choose when they want to push, and they were able to get the damage. But it was a free round for Era Eternity, as I say. They had one to play with, they still are on series point.
Oh my, Panda's got to be careful here going across that zip line. Stuhni beats him to the bottom of that tower, but his two teammates did manage to get up on high. Stuhni taking a little bit of damage, not having his shields quite broken, and will be able to retreat for now. So you can see on the map overhead, Dome is where we're going to be kind of focusing a lot of the attention here. The first time on Thermal Station between these two teams. Metro with a Vault in hand as well. That thing's fully juiced as well. Purple mag, purple barrel, purple stock as well. Now we're going to see Stuhni trying to get involved. So Wingman shots flying across the skies, but none of them connecting whatsoever, and Pandxrz will take advantage.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of an exaggerated push that wasn't necessary. Ghost Gaming will take full advantage of that. It was ambitious from Era Eternity, and I do feel like they had to try and do something, because that circle is awkward when the other team is on Dome and you're not, and they were all spread out. Neither of them could kind of join the forces there at Dome, so Stuhni tried to do what he could, tried to see if he could hit any big shots, and on that occasion, unfortunately, it didn't really work out for him. Now we're tied up 2-2. So from series point, we go into a situation where now Ghost Gaming are going to edge their way closer of potentially winning this map, and Era Eternity miss out on 2 chances to win this series. Yeah,
it's going to hurt if they don't take this next round, Era Eternity, to give themselves another opportunity. You can't give 2 rounds away like they have. As Stuhni now decides to take a little bit of a different angle. He's going to take the pills once again, and we'll get that one uncontested. Ghost Gaming. You get a little bit of damage done to Stuhni as he has to retreat. A little bit of a change in weaponry as well now. You can see the economy starting to improve for both teams. You have a few more options to play with. The 2 times on the 30-30 certainly going to give you a little bit more range, a little bit more distance. But from the map overhead here, you can see it's not going to be dome side. We're going to be more towards the center of Thermal Station this time. So Bowser's playing a little bit of an off angle.
Yeah, we've seen how important some of those shotguns have been in these late fights. The Mastiff has really done damage. Eva 8 has come into play a few times. The 30-30 is going to be the choice for Pandxrz for distance. Mastiff in the back pocket. But in the moment, doesn't really know where to look. I think there's a lot of callouts that are coming out, but it looks like that callout is let's full send it. And he's trying to take down Ares, who is very low, but the bat's been popped off.
Foxy Ares gets away here. That's massive. He goes through the skies. Can they get the flesh damage? Can they get the knock? Yes, they can. But are they able to close the ground before he gets res? That grapple back towards teammates absolutely vital. Or I should say the jump pad, excuse me, from Oxy Ares vital. And now here comes Ghost Gaming. Bowser's getting focused by all of the players. He jumps into the void. They will get the knock onto Stuhni. And this is just carnage in the middle of Thermal Station here. Oxy Ares manages to get one, but he'll be beamed through the doors. And now it's a 1v2, and that will be not the result that Era Eternity wanted. Ghost Gaming from 2-0 down now lead the map 3-2.
He kept the trigger down for a little bit too long there. Were those some extra bullets going into the body? I think that might have been. I think Ghost Gaming want to make sure they make a statement here on this map. Take this to a map number 5. Don't allow Era Eternity to get one up on them and get their revenge. And now this is the perfect opportunity to do so there on Series Point. It was always going to be an awkward round for Era Eternity after they lost Ares initially. Even with the res, I think that despite the fact they weren't quick enough, Ghost, to stop the res from happening, the fact that they could use that jump pad that had initially been used to get out, they were so quick and hot on the heels to do damage on all 3 members of Era Eternity.
Hostile close.
So, not only 2 map points and 2 series points lost, but now Ghost Gaming have got themselves into a position to maybe win this one themselves. Era Eternity are going to be kicking themselves if they let this one slip through their fingers. And we do go over to our map 5 here, where we will be heading towards Encore, but Ghost Gaming really finding a little bit of momentum now. Like you mentioned, a couple of extra shots, maybe just trying to get the adrenaline going a little bit for these guys. As the frag grenades will fall from the skies and not be able to find their targets. Metro is going to have to be careful himself as the explosives are starting to ring out here on Thermal Station.
The Vault has been really important on both sides, actually. Ares has been doing some big work with the Vault, and if you can just, get that spray under control, you rip apart the shields, and you very quickly get to flesh damage. Metro is the other player on Ghost Gaming who's going to be using that Vault. The 30-30 repeater again being used for Pandxrz. He was the one who got the final damage on the knock initially, but it's going to have to heal up here. Is that enough for Eternity to push on? Doesn't seem like they fancy it just yet.
The Metro not wanting to use a battery quite yet. He can take a little bit more damage before he has to, so that's just managing the economy. As Bowser now hits a nice 45 to just chip away at that shield. Metro now will have to use that battery, and Bowser seeing it as an opportunity to move up here. 45 more damage, 45 for you as well. Everyone gets a 45. It's like an episode of Oprah in here at the moment as Ghost Gaming finally have a little bit of time to reset, as the damage done by Bowser wasn't being able to be converted into any knocks at the moment.
Yeah, it's all well and good just tagging the single 45s, but if you're just going to allow the other team to heal every single time, it doesn't matter too much. But Metro does a considerable more amount than 45, but elsewhere, Stuhni's getting up in the face of Metro, and Era Eternity, they did get the initial, but now it's 2 versus 2.
2 versus 2, you can see the spray coming in. It's a little bit of a wild one coming in from the flatline, and looks like Six isn't quite sure where to locate himself, but his teammate Pandxrz takes advantage of the damage being done. There's a crack with a Mastiff, can't quite get the second, and Oxy Ares now in a 1v1, and he'll win it. Oh my, will he win it? And Era Eternity stay alive. A 1v1 clutch from the substitute again.
1 versus 2 clutch. There's no way he should have won that. The Mastiff, though, let him down a little bit. He did hit for like 11 and then 5, something ridiculous. But there was a considerable distance, and that is right. Shotguns shouldn't kill you from that far away, at least not in a consistent way. I guess there is going to always be a chance that a bullet does travel that distance and connect with the head. But it was a situation where Pandxrz and Six were the last 2 remaining players. And look at that, there's the 11, misses the second one. Ran out of ammo, but credit to Ares, right? Holding his ground, knowing that he was 1 shot away from dying, but he had to face that. There was no cover whatsoever.
Well, both teams flying into each other again. We're all tied up at 3-3 now in the series. And Era Eternity They're looking to get angry. One player knocks per side at the moment. Oxyaries gets another one now, and this could be massive. Oxyaries 1v1 versus Pandxrz. Can't quite find the player though. Can he get inside this building? Yes, he can, and he'll get the battery off, so we now have a reset. But that might be a chance here for Oxyaries to get a res, whereas his opponent is not in a position to do so.
He's not gone for the res, instead he's gone for the heal. The advantage that Pandxrz has is the Mastiff, whereas we've just got the Mozambique on the side of Ares. Does have the Wingman though. Octane versus Pathfinder. Usually Pathfinder can get into some tricky situations. He's going to get surprised here though by Pandxrz.
He's going to get Mastiff in the back. Shots around the knockdown shield though, and Mastiff, no problem, I've got a Wingman! My word, Era Eternity turning up. They take the lead in the series, in the map I should say, 4-3. And you talked about it, Dan, you were completely right. You were saying Mastiff should have the advantage here, but the knockdown shield combined with the Wingman was the great equalizer.
Yeah, I mean, if you can hit your shots with the Wingman, then the Wingman has the advantage. Just the fire rate is going to be far superior to the Mastiff, but you'd expect the Mastiff to just do that damage. But unfortunately, as you say, the knockdown shield just too awkward for Pandxrz to try and work around, and it will be series point again for Era Eternity. Are they going to let this one slip through their fingers once more, or is this finally going to be that crushing blow to Ghost Gaming?
Well, 3 might be the magic number as both teams send it on each other again. 44 with the Mastiff this time from Stuhni, forces the player down off of height. There's a crack though, and Oxyaries can't quite get that final shot in. But the amount of damage this man is putting out at the moment is very, very impressive to see. But here comes Era Eternity. 1 player will fall from Ghost, 2 players will fall. Pandxrz left on his own, and he's up against Stuhni and Ares too. So Pandxrz has got to do something magical here. He has a 2v1 to try and close out. He is the Pathfinder though, and he catches 1 player off guard, but it's not enough. And at the 3rd time of asking, Era Eternity will win the series.
Well, I think that is an upset. Even though Era Eternity have looked really good in this tournament, they have a substitute. And Ghost Gaming, they beat them 3-0 last time they played each other a few months ago in this competition. So I think Era Eternity will be delighted with that one. They move on to the semi-finals. Ghost Gaming are eliminated. It's not double elimination here in the playoffs, so they are straight out. And Reflections, that means some prize money has already been secured.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? When you're round 1, you get some money going your way. And at this point, we have pretty much all teams solidified in semifinals. Still some questions on that Torrent and Pittsburgh Knights matchup. I believe we're still waiting on that one to finish out. But what an exciting matchup that was on set. I mean, honestly, I was on the edge of my seat so many times. And I agree with you, Gaskin. You know, that is, in fact, an upset because Era is now playing with Oxyaries. After yesterday, they were playing with Dezignful. But on set, I got to ask you something. It's kind of a joke as it is, but you know, we talked about that honeymoon phase, right? And I think the strategy for Era is like, let's just stay in the honeymoon phase. Let's get, if this was a week-long tournament, they would change out their partner every time.
If it was a 3-day tournament, there'd be a new player here tomorrow. Oxyaries, you played nuts today. Dezignful, you played brilliantly yesterday, but we're gonna find someone else because he's been playing crazy, man. Like the amount of clutches, the 2v1 clutch in that as well, and when you've got a player who's doing that kind of thing, like it fills you with so much confidence, right? And it just breathes good vibes through the team. But I've got to give some credit to Ghost Gaming in that map as well, because I really feel like, you know, to hold off 2 series points in the way they did, it was very impressive to see. You can see a lot of teams heads drop, they're out of it, they just think, this is over now, we're really struggling. But they came back into it, they fought their way right until that last moment. But I mean, Era Eternity, they've just got a clutch factor at the moment.
And the thing is, Gaskin, as much as they were catching up, right, speaking in regards to Ghost, if you're always playing catch-up, you're never able to truly take that edge, right? You're always being proactive instead of reactive. And I felt Ghost, at least in this map here, great moments coming out from them, but they just didn't have enough to close it.
Yeah, they were often reacting, as you say, to what Era Eternity were doing with their aggression, and at times it worked out. They were able to hit their shots, they clutched up, and they didn't allow Era Eternity to win the series from those 2 free points that they had. But when you go 2-0 up, you do play that 3rd round a little bit differently because it is a free one, and I feel like Era Eternity, if they just played it the same way, they probably would have come out with a victory. But I think Ghost, they realized how Era were playing it. They realized they needed to target Stuhni because Stuhni was the initiator. He was the one who was diving in and doing the damage. Stuhni also missed a couple of shots in those rounds where they didn't win the series, but they got their chance again. They actually overturned a potential map point on the side of Ghost, so I think we have to give credit as well to Era Eternity for keeping their mental strong. But Aries, man. The shots that Aries was hitting, the fact that he's a sub as well, it was sublime.
Well, and the fact, like, even that key moment in one of the replays on set, he has a wingman up close. He's opposite of a Mastiff. This was already a tense moment where both players chose to heal up. There was a short sliver of time where Oxy Aries could have went for the revive on his teammate, but he opted to heal instead and just really fight the 1v, and he wins it. Like I said, up close and personal with the wingman, despite a Mastiff mowing him down.
Yeah, I mean, the knockdown shield is one of the strongest things to try and play around. Whenever you're in a situation, if you're like one of those players in Apex, you're playing a lot of ranked and you want to know how to improve, you can win 2v1s, you can, 1v2s by playing around knockdown shields, because you can hide your entire body and then you can peek up at the right time after a player has shot a shot into the player who's on the ground. So you can kind of time your shots around what the opposition is playing. It's super like overpowered mechanic to master. And when we see end zones in Battle Royale, you'll always see players playing around knockdown shields, surviving for as long as they can. It's such an integral part of what makes a great Apex player, and that was a great example of it.
And before we show the bracket, just Oxy Aries, the stats were insane. 5, 6, math is hard, 10, 20 kills across those 4 games. Even though he didn't have the most damage, right? And I know, Gaskin, we focus really heavily on the damage output. Oxy Aries still a wonderful addition to this roster. And clearly, I mean, the strategy. I think the biggest problem now Era is going to have is how do they split the prize money, right? Because Dezignful has to get some of it. He helped them through day 1. So how much is he going to get? I really don't know. I'm sure they'll work it out in the back end. Let's take a look at our bracket, because semifinals is finally set up. Not yet, because Torrent and Pittsburgh Knights are still playing. Wow, game 5 there. I'm actually super impressed. Torrent yesterday on set was playing incredibly well. They were one of my favorites heading into today. Pittsburgh Knights last tournament weren't as powerful or strong as we were expecting them to be. But clearly, much like Na'Vi, right, make it into the playoffs, Pittsburgh Knights make it into playoffs, and they're making the most of it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Torrent kind of play the rest of that series. It might have been a case of, we don't know how the series has gone, right? It could have been 2-0 and then they've pulled it back to 2-2, or it might have just been back and forth. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins that one. But Pittsburgh Knights certainly going to be happy that they're in the position that they are after what they saw coming in from Torrent yesterday.
Hey, Torrent, they're going to be forced to be reckoned with, and I got to say, semifinals is shaping up to be quite nicely. No matter who ends up moving forward, you got to play against Era. It's not going to be easy for Torrent or Pittsburgh Knights, but that's just how the way the cookie crumbles when you have the top 8 teams, right, competing against each other for the cash money. But we're going to take a quick break. The next series coming up is going to be fantastic. You better believe it. It's going to be Esports Arena playing against Arena Demons, and we'll see if Arena Demons can do better than they did last tournament. They got second place. Will they be able to overcome Esports Arena, who look unstoppable? A series you don't want to miss. We'll be right back.